What's going on, everybody? Lloyd Jones and Natasha Jones here from Midnight Comics. Yeah. Anyway, we're back with another What If Wednesday. I think it's like the fifth one. I think this is the fifth one. And so, what we did before, and this might sound familiar, we talked about it on Instagram very briefly. We did a What If the Dark Crisis entered the Indieverse, and who would you kind of pit against the various characters or villains within the Dark Army. Instead of, because we didn't answer the question, what if, who we would pick out of our characters, right? We didn't answer the question at all. We just sat back and listened to everybody else's responses as to who they would pick against the Dark Army. So, what I'm going to show you really quick, if you guys aren't familiar with the Dark Army here from Dark Crisis, we've got Darkseid, Doomsday, Necron, Specter's on the list. Upside Down Man is there. Aries, Deathstroke is on there, but he is not on there. And then there's Eclipso. I think he's on the picture. Yeah, Eclipso's in there, but Pariah is not on the picture. He's actually the one that's leading them. It's a little bit misleading right there, showing Darkseid in the middle. He's actually not leading the squad. But anyway,
I mean, if you saw a picture with Darkseid in the front and all of them back there, you'd be more inclined to pick it up than most people who have no clue who the heck a Pariah is.
That's fair. Okay, so, well, smart marketing. So anyway, what we have here is, so these are the characters, and then, of course, we're going to go through our list of who we matched, with each character that we matched up with one of these villains from the Midnight Comics universe. So what we're going to do is go back to the previous picture, with the majority of our characters on it, because the first character that's on our list, we actually have him going against Darkseid, who definitely doesn't need much introduction, and we already know, ruler of Apocalypse, one of the new gods, and all that good stuff. We had him pitted against our godlike character here, Izanagi, from the Unbeloved series. So, Izanagi, in lore and in our stories, again, the Unbeloved, is credited with stirring the waters and causing the waters around the world to recede and showing, basically revealing the land masses. With that, he basically has a minor air manipulation, if you would. A simple swing of his spear could cause a vortex, or tornado, or what have you. He's also fast enough, and I guess strong enough, if you would, to run on the air. Think about like how Guy Sensei was doing, right? When he was punching so hard, he caused fire and stuff like that. So same premise, right? Where he's able to run off the cloud. So either Lightfoot or again that air manipulation. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say it doesn't help, but yeah, he can actually manipulate the air.
Right.
So.
Oh,
not
better example. Yu Yu
speed.
Hakusho.
That's a better example.
The guy with the tornado joint.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's not as much speed as it is air manipulation.
Right.
Nature. Well, Izanagi has the nature manipulation.
Yeah.
But if he has her sword. Right. But since she's also on list, he can't take her sword or she might die. So.
So basically, so he's incredibly powerful. His durability is absolutely ridiculous. We see in Chapter 0, which you can basically pick up a preview off our website, midnightcomics.org. You check out a preview. He's incredibly strong. They're fighting against true form Orochi, right, inside the issue, right? So the dragon form of Orochi, not like Orochimaru, like basic type stuff, like actual legend Orochi. So he's very durable in his own right. What do you say, my love? Can Izanagi, at the point that we've seen him throughout the course of the story, stand up to Darkseid? Why not? Can he survive the Omega Beams?
Darkseid is also extremely, extremely durable. Extremely, extremely durable.
Yes.
We know it's him fighting Superman multiple times. Yeah, sounds like right here. All right. Not to mention extremely powerful to go up with Lex. I think it'd be a good fight, but I don't think Izanagi could take Superman.
Yeah.
Where he is, or where he stands at any point, honestly.
Okay.
But then we have to also remember Darkseid is an avatar of himself.
That's true.
And isn't even like a fraction, maybe about a fraction.
Yeah.
Of his power in that avatar.
I will say, from what we've seen so far in regards to Dark Crisis right now in the story.
No, I'm not reading Dark Crisis specifically. Yeah. So he might be even more powerful. Because I know that
I personally think he's a bit weaker.
Only reason Pariah give them more.
Yes, but they're not at their right senses though. They are the darkness is what's got a hold on all the villains here.
Yeah.
Right? So they're not
that makes
fighting
sense
to
considering because
their...
you're sitting there like, why is Deathstroke here? Why is the Specter here with these guys?
Yeah.
He wouldn't work with these guys. So that makes sense in like in their cases.
Yeah.
The Darkseid's already evil.
No, that's true, but he has his own ambitions, his own
view.
way of doing things. Like, I don't believe we've seen him even bust out the Omega Beams yet in the story.
I'm waiting for Dark Crisis to be over before I go back and read it. Just
Yeah,
I
mean,
really,
they're already
I know, but I really be needing these
actually.
stories to end before I can go back and read it. Just like with Dark Knight, if I had been doing Dark Knight's Metal as each issue was coming out, I wouldn't have finished it.
That's fair.
Almost didn't.
Okay, so that's all very fair. But like outside that, for maybe one, the issue 0 and maybe issue 1, you don't really see a lot of them. You see the initial scuffle between the Dark Army and the Justice League, and then we kind of focus more on Pariah and what the world is doing, or what what heroes are left are doing in the wake of the defeat and
of the Justice League.
Death.
That's all I know
League.
is the Justice League died maybe,
Yeah.
and the new Justice League is taking over. That's the most important.
Now, honestly, just a little side note about Dark Crisis. I don't think the new Justice League's got it in them to stop them, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to see. I mean, right, the original Justice League. So we got to pull some kind of hacks out for them to figure some stuff out. I don't know.
They're coming back.
Yeah, they're probably going to come back.
They don't have the balls to keep them dead.
Right.
Even if they did, the universe would just reset for the 10,000th time, and they'd come back anyway.
We'll talk more about the scenario, how it play out, but I agree. On 1v1, no backup, no assists, no nothing. Just 1v1. Izanagi versus Darkseid. I would have to give it to Darkseid. Again, fisticuffs, I think Izanagi can survive. But the moment Darkseid feels the need to bust out the Omega Beams, it's a wrap.
It's
I
over.
don't believe he's
And also,
that,
like we say with a lot of things, how would he take Darkseid out? That I don't
mean,
see.
with his mighty jeweled spear, he can. With magical properties,
I don't see a way.
It can pierce the new god.
I don't. No. I love our characters. I don't see a way.
No, I don't see how
Izanagi
he
is great.
Yeah.
He's the awesome, charismatic, fun guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's super strong and
even with
powerful.
all the essence he's taken in.
Even if he took the full might and power of his glorious mustache, he could not defeat.
Okay, that's fair. So I'm mad at it. I do agree.
But he is our best bet, and if we could pull out some kind of hacks in our writing, we could totally make it happen.
Right?
So, moving along, we have Deathstroke, probably one of the weakest of these guys, but it does not mean he is to be taken lightly.
Correct.
It's Deathstroke.
And so we have the butterfly.
We put the butterfly
and the blue morpho.
working together.
Okay. And so if you guys are familiar, so we'll start from the beginning here with our characters. So we got the butterfly here in the background. She's a character that came out in the 70s. She had 2 issues, ended up in public domain obscurity. And so we decided to pick up the character and utilize her in our universe, only to segue into our own original character, her daughter, the Blue Morpho. And so a little bit about them. They're vigilantes. I'll again talk about the butterfly mostly for a moment. She's a vigilante. She was fighting in the 70s in universe, and then her daughter is old enough to kind of jump into the fold. And they're strong enough to take on military trained guys. In particular, in the end of the Era story. They're fighting against the butterfly in particular is fighting against like 5 guys. She's already been captured, kind of sort of tortured, really. And she still musters up the strength to take out 5 military trained guys with low diff, right? And so, with that being said,
mid diff because she's already gotten her butt beat a little bit, so she's.
Did anybody
injured.
even put hands on her?
That we saw. She looked tired as hell.
I mean, she was tired, but ain't nobody really put no hands to her. She was tired because she got tortured, because she got captured.
Okay, that's fair.
But she ain't getting still tortured, worn out, and still managed to take out 5 guys. Low diff. So, full stamina, no torture, no nothing. She's a menace. She's going to be a problem for whoever she's fighting. We'll put Blue Morpho right next to her. Let's give them even footing here with their equipment and everything. Of course, give the butterfly a little bit more finesse than her daughter, right? But the age will play a factor into it, and that's why, just to keep it simple, we'll go ahead and put them on even footing. And so, back to Deathstroke, Of course, we know he was a soldier, mercenary, got essentially a super soldier serum, activated a majority of his brain, so he's got, if I'm not mistaken, some precognition. Like very minor precognition.
Not to mention, technically, he is a super soldier as well, so he has a slight healing factor.
So slight healing factor and all of that, but still a normal human. Yeah. So with them both jumping him, I think about it this way. I think it's gonna be a good fight, and I'll put it this way. I think if Nightwing can survive a fight against Deathstroke, I think the two of them, high diff, can at the very least survive the fight. Can I say without a shadow of a doubt that they beat Deathstroke? No, not at all. It would be one of those fights where it's like, oh man, it could go either way in this moment, and something gets in the way of the battle. Oh, the building is crumbling, and everybody barely escapes. And again, high diff, they survive the fight, but there's no clear-cut victory, unfortunately, in regards to our character. On the inside. So unfortunately, right now, in regards to our Midnight Comics characters, it's not.
We're 0-2.
We're 0-2 right now, right? And again, we're just trying to be mindful to our source material. That's all we have out right now, and based on the techniques and skills that we've seen of the characters.
Because we have certain characters who, in the future, could take some of these low diff, but they're not there.
But we're not there yet. And do this when we do verses with mainstream characters as well. If it wasn't in the comics, then we can't count it. If it's not canon, we don't count it unless we say, let's take the strongest version of each character, then anything goes, right? But we only use the feats based on the criteria that we say, hey, it's the only stuff that happened in the comics, not no headcanon stuff, what happened in the comics. Yeah, not a clear-cut victory for them, so we're not going to count it as a win, which means it's not, it means we just have to take the L, right? So we're 0-2, long and short of it. Tasha, who we got next?
Next, it's Necron.
Versus who?
The Gray.
The Gray. Okay, the Gray. My personal favorite character right there in the middle. So she's a physicist, right? And she's got these particle accelerators on her gloves, right? That she built into them. And when you power those particle accelerators on, they create black holes, right? And so she could use that radiation, varying capacities, right? So photon beams. There we go. Able to shoot photon beams at varying capacities and stuff like that. Now, some of the one thing that a lot of comics and shows don't really go into, and I kind of said it a second ago, when it comes to these photon beams and stuff, is the radiation that's getting emitted off of it when it shoots out. Now again, you know, they have their own way of exhibiting and shooting out that energy. But in regards to the Gray and how her gauntlets work, it's radiation. So it could be good enough to remove a tumor, or you can accidentally
destroy the universe.
Yeah. So basically, we have her going against Necron, which Necron, if you guys don't know, is the character from The Blackest Night, right? He was the Black Lantern, or the Avatar, I guess, of it. Whatever. He kind of ran the Blackest Night thing with the. He had the lantern. He had
the Black Lantern ring.
Yeah. He was like the parallax of the Black Lanterns, if you would, the main host of death, essentially.
Yeah. That's
and so we place the Gray against Necron because, well, if push comes to shove, I mean, the radiation could finish decomposing the body and maybe. Because, again.
And if we get super, super desperate, we can always use black holes to suck them up.
The only reason why I think she can win this.
No, I'm with you.
Is because of how they're utilizing him in the Dark Crisis story. He doesn't have the Black Lantern rings infecting all of the dead. That's not happening, right? It's just him. And so with that being said,
if it was all the dead,
she could potentially just destroy him. And, you know, when any lantern dies, the ring just flies off and finds a new host. Essentially, yeah. So maybe, just maybe, she can get away with it. And if I'm incorrect in regards to the Black Lanterns and stuff, feel free to correct me in regards to that. But I'm pretty sure if they kill Necron, that would cease that whole thing. I'm pretty sure of that. Unless he could just come back like the rest of them. Because the Black Lanterns, I mean, yeah, you could destroy their bodies and stuff like that, but the ring just brings them right back. So I'm not sure if that works the same for Necron or not. I personally think that the Gray
has a chance.
Stop Necron.
And if
not
she does,
in fisticuffs,
no.
Right? Because she can't fight.
With geniusness.
But her ingenuity and her cunning, I feel
Smart.
like, right? I feel like she could stand up to him. again, she would have to be shooting blasts the whole time and staying away from him. By the grace of God, dodge this man. But besides that,
put her next to you.
I'm pretty sure she has a solid chance if she stays away. Go.
Up next is the Specter. Move.
The
Stop trying to look at my password. We did Admani, actually.
Admani? Mm-hmm. What was our reasoning for that? I don't remember.
One, we didn't do these in order, so she was kind of one of the few left to go against him. 2, because she actually knows magic.
Okay.
And 3, because fire.
Okay. That's tough. That's tough, because, like, what is the Spectre's weakness, really? Yeah, see, this was a really tough list. Mm-hmm. The magic, man.
And hers is
I think our hope with her was that they would be able to potentially fight at a stalemate. Specter has died before, right? No, he got a new host.
Specter? I was has the Specter died?
No,
or has
Jim Corrigan and how Jordan
died. Not parlor tricks.
How can you kill Admani?
I feel like getting too deep into the lore of how to possibly kill her would be spoilers. That's where I feel like there would be spoilers if I had.
So what I'm getting here is if it's not a team battle, our characters are not going to make it.
No. That's why I said with the Gray winning, and if someone else can pull off a win, they can come be helpful. Like, see, if Awashima can pull off a win, she can come help Admani. Everybody else just needs to hold on until they get help.
Okay, so let's kind of switch it from there really quick then.
And I feel like Izanagi could hold on. I feel like and the Blue Morph on the Butterfly can hold on until they get help.
So let's shift the conversation to that then. So we're going to tell you guys all the rest of the characters that are in this and who everybody's fighting. And then we can kind of talk about the potential scenario then. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Sure.
Okay. So next up we have Pariah versus Kaya. So Pariah, again, is the guy leading it. He's kind of harnessing the great darkness, but he doesn't really show too many feats, right? So we first see Pariah back in the Crisis on Infinite Earths back in the 80s, right? The first big crisis event in DC. And he's kind of forced to witness not only the destruction of his universe, but the destruction of the multiverse, really. And so, that could definitely cause somebody to snap and lose it, right? But I believe that what he's trying to do is bring back his universe, reset everything with the possibility of bringing back his original universe. So what I'm picking up from it is essentially he's been tricked by the Great Darkness and believing that there's hope for him to get his home and family back and all that other stuff. Womp womp. Darkseid's never the good idea. Anyway, so we have him going up against Kaya. Kaya is one of the demon hunters in Dogma. She is a descendant of David's mighty men. And so on top of, she's probably the strongest, just natural born human we got.
Think of her as our Wonder Woman.
She's our Wonder Woman, yes. And so not only that, she's able to tap into what's called glory. So our power systems will vary. You'll hear the names of it, but glory she gets from Adonai. Adonai can whatever she needs in a particular moment, if it's meant to happen, right? She's able to harness that. So she usually is able to tap further into her already seemingly superhuman strength and add to that. Also able to seal away demons and all of that, and exorcise spirits. So with all of that, I haven't really seen Pariah do much, but what I'm thinking is a potential win here, finally, for a Midnight Comics character. Pariah, I don't believe, would be able to overwhelm her physically. And the moment he even exhibited a sliver of a chance of overwhelming her with the darkness, the great darkness, all that other stuff, I believe she could seal or exorcise the great darkness from him.
Awesome.
I think her, and we'll get to the other character, Reyna, shortly.
A demon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
then in that case, I mean,
it's definitely falls into the category of evil spirit or evil entities.
I'll say
right?
That's literally what they do.
So Reyna and Kaya might just be the key to Midnight Comics stopping the Great Darkness. Now the only problem is once you get rid of the Great Darkness from all the characters, now they're back to themselves
and full power.
So you remove Great Darkness from Darkseid, then Darkseid decides to go do what he's going to do, and if that's still in that moment taking over the planet or destroying the planet. If you remove
the Great Darkness and Darkseid's in the middle of a fight, you're going to keep fighting.
Yeah.
He doesn't care how we got there.
Right. He's probably just gonna get out angry and be like, you know what? Screw all of y'all. No, we'll talk more in depth about that in a second. But I think they might be the key. I'm gonna say Kaya beats Pariah, except Eclipso versus Awashima. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know much about Eclipso except this man has got some strength behind him. He's the incarnation of the wrath of God and the angel of vengeance that turned evil and was replaced by the Specter. Got it. Yeah, okay. So he's got spirit possession, immortality, energy, energy vision, energy blast, superhuman strength, speed, stamina, invulnerability, flight, weather modification, divine siphoning, nigh omnipotence, mass and remote possession, Darkseid release, corruption inducement, and possession transformation. So, all that being said, I think Awashima's going to do it. So let's talk briefly about Awashima. So she is the daughter of Izanagi and Izanami. So she's already got a godlike physiology. She has, through essence, the power system in the Unbeloved, minor nature manipulation. So think, if I was to compare essence to anything, if you combined alchemy in the way that they used it in Fullmetal Alchemist with the chakra and the techniques from it in Naruto, mesh those two together, and that's essentially what you get with essence. And so think about the Avatar with Naruto style techniques on top of their bending. Wait, I said Avatar. Wait a second.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that too. I'm sorry.
Repeat that whole thing, but we did compare it to Avatar before because we have another one.
Avatar,
where we have them in Avatar.
Fullmetal, and Naruto. So with that being said, she does have some slight ability in regards to absorbing one's ability and essence. So what I think, Pariah, I don't think he'll be able to stop. Not Pariah. I'm sorry. Eclipso wouldn't be able to do much against that because she's absorbing that energy. And so with her being the Avatar, the ultimate chakra bending alchemist, right? I think she stands a chance. I think still it's going to be high diff because she's still not as physically strong as somebody that used to be the Spirit of Vengeance, right? We're going to move over to Doomsday. Doomsday, I don't think he needs an introduction. The one character that actually kills Superman, aka put him in a coma for a couple months, right? So Doomsday is a beast. I don't really need to talk more about him. Of course, super strength and all that other stuff, adaptability, right? You can't kill him the same way twice. And we matched him against our character, Izanami. Izanami is the wife of Izanagi and mother to Hiroko and Awashima, and she wields a mighty blade that she's very proficient with, and that has some serious magical properties to it. The main thing being nature manipulation, right? So from her blade, she's able to control fire, ice, the elements, right? And combine all that stuff together to make some kind of ridiculous techniques. We have a scene in Unbeloved Chapter 0 where they're fighting an enemy. Izanagi swings his blade, again causing a vortex, which she does because there's water nearby and that moisture gets caught up in the vortex that he's created, and she freezes all the moisture that's in the air there and freezes their enemy with that combination attack. So again, some nature manipulation with that, and combined with anybody else's techniques, can really be a serious force. And I think this fight, I don't recall Doomsday ever being frozen before. And so if we can get, just as the example, and again as a feat that we've already seen in the Unbeloved, I think they could just freeze Doomsday. I've never seen him frozen. I know they've pushed him to the source wall or to the edge of time or something like that. They've incinerated him. They've beaten him to a pulp. But I don't think we've seen him frozen. Again, outside of the natural ability or the magical abilities from her strength is ridiculous too because they are godlike beings as well. So I believe her strength would allow her to hold her own physically against him, much like Izanagi being able to survive, at least for some time, a battle against Darkseid. But Izanami is built pretty much the same. She's got a little bit more finesse than Izanagi and a little more swift. But essentially, I do think Izanami can potentially stop Doomsday but only by using her techniques to freeze him, because that's one of the few ways he hasn't been defeated. But we know fisticuffs isn't going to work. We already seen that battle against Superman and how that played out. We have a couple other characters here. The Empty Hand, we don't have anybody up against him yet. We'll talk more about that in a second. I think we either moved... We're going to move one of our characters over there because we doubled up on the Upside Down Man, and we'll get to that in a second. So nobody's fighting the Empty Hand at the moment. Neuron versus Soul. Neuron is essentially a demon-like character, if you will. He's got reality manipulation and alteration. That could be a problem. That can be a problem. Telepathy, telekinesis, shape-shifting, sorcery. Oh, he's Doctor Strange on top of reality warping. How do you stop that? All right, so he's going against Soul. Soul currently in the comics, he's a character that got two Egyptian deities inside of him. Right? He's got Amon and Ra. They fused together to fight against Isfet, the embodiment of chaos. And when they started losing that battle, they decided to place their essence or spirit inside of a woman who they didn't realize was pregnant. That was Soul's mom. Already at a disadvantage, he doesn't know the fullness of what he can do. So that could be a problem. But on top of that, so what we're going to talk about is how the power is manifested in Soul. So when he goes to activate his power, what ends up happening is, think Greed from Fullmetal Alchemist, how that armor kind of formulates around his body to protect him. That's what happens with Soul. How those powers manifest in him is there's this protective armor, is this black armor that you see in the bottom right here. His character surrounds his body and covers his body almost like a second layer of skin in regards to how it fits and what have you. But it's durable as the strongest, way more durable than the strongest metals on Earth. But we'll get into the specifics of that durability as we go further into his series and story. But yeah, so it covers his entire body. And it protects him because he actually takes in the power and energy of the sun, right? So direct sunlight at its, I mean, how well can we handle the direct sunlight as if we were standing in front of it? That's how strong this armor is, how durable it is, and how much it protects him. So if Neuron can withstand the full might of the sun shot at point blank range, so it really depends on whether or not Neuron can take that, but I think with his reality warping or reality manipulation, he'd be able to get past that. And although Soul is very durable, between having to deal with the sorcery and the reality warping, because his Neuron can just essentially just make his armor go away with the reality manipulation. So I don't see Soul beating Neuron, unfortunately. So what are we right now? Darkseid versus Izanagi, no go. We'll say Deathstroke versus Blue Morpho Butterfly is a draw. Necron versus the Gray, we could give her that win. And Mani versus Specter, Specter wins that. We said Kaya versus Pariah, Kaya wins. Eclipso and Awashima, we said Awashima can pull through on that. And Izanami versus Doomsday, if she freezes him, can win that fight. I don't think we said draw for Blue Morpho and Butterfly initially. We said that was a loss for them. So we've got 2 losses, 5 wins at the moment, and a draw. Oh, when he took the draw away. Huh, this is actually turn. Oh no, yeah, and a 3rd loss with Neuron. Reyna versus Aries. So she's the other demon hunter. Do we have to explain Aries, God of War? Easily explainable, right? Reyna, again, another demon hunter, though she doesn't have the strength Kaya has. She's a normal human. She's not descendant of a David's
she's
mighty
really
man.
Just another smart person.
She's smart. She's an engineering prodigy, if you would. In regards to durability, she's in trouble. She's already got spina bifida, right? So she's already her lower half is already a tad bit weaker. And she wears a device on her back to kind of help her walk, almost a brace that helps her walk. And it's a device that's connected to her spine again to help her with more mobility. But she is able to seal. Her speciality, if you would, is to exercise and seal away evil spirits or what have you. I think with her means of defeating her enemies. Aries wouldn't really have any in regards to a direct conflict because he gets stronger based on war and battle and stuff like that. Based on her, he's not really going to be able to pull. He's a Saiyan. Stop. I mean, yeah. But yeah, I don't think 1v1. I don't think he can stop her or pull anything from her. But being that this battle, again, we'll talk about the scenarios all happening the way that it's happening. He could very easily overwhelm her. But combined with glory that we explained a second ago, I think she can pull out a attempt to seal him. I think he's been around long enough and a little cunning. I think he could get caught off guard by it, but not fully get sealed and then defeat her. So I think Aries wins this one. Long story short. Then we have the Upside Down Man. We have him going against Ebisu and Hiroko. Now the Empty Hand is still left behind, but the Empty Hand is really the I guess he also harnesses the Great Darkness, or he had it first, or something like that. We'll look him up in a second when we start talking about him. But the Upside Down Man basically completely negates magic, and harnesses. He harnesses magic, but his presence pretty much negates the use of magic. Now, lucky for us, when we have Ebisu and Hiroko going against him, they're not using magic. They're utilizing essence. And so, again, that's that. We gave you the examples of the three things that you compare it to. Again, if you fuse...
That's that inner energy.
Right. If you fuse alchemy, chakra, and bending into one power system, you get essence. And I truly think, because again, I mean, he's got magic, but they could use essence the same way a Green Lantern uses his ring, right? Let me go ahead and use essence because, matter of fact, let me go to the picture with Hiroko, right? Because again, he was born without limbs, but he uses essence to make energy projections, right? And so he's able to form arms and legs, so you can potentially use that same essence to create various other energy constructs to take him out or even lock him away. So what I think would end up happening in this scenario is they would corner him. They would have a good battle and what have you, but I feel like Ebisu at the very least would try his best to contain him so that Hiroko could go and back up Awashima. And with Awashima having backup on top of her abilities already, and I guess we're getting to the point where we can start talking about the scenario and the team-ups and how the Midnight Comics can prevail, possibly, against the Dark Army. Ebisu, I feel like, would try to contain the Upside Down Man, or at least hold his attention or lock him in an energy construct bubble, if you would. Or, well, I'm not going to say what he does in in book 4 or chapter, the rest of chapter 2. So we got chapter 0, 1, 2, and then 2 part 2. But anyway, so in book 4, he does something very impressive that I believe he'd be able to pull off on the Upside Down Man and hold him in place. So anyway, I think Ebisu would contain the Upside Down Man. Hiroko would go and back up Awashima. Hiroko and Awashima would demolish Eclipso because they are completely in sync.
Yeah.
They're twins, completely in sync. Read chapter 0 and chapter 1, you'll see. And with that, I think, who would they help next? They would back up Izanagi. So they'd be a non-factor in the rest of the fights. They would go back up Izanagi, giving some of the pressure there. And so we can pause on them for a second. The Unbeloved characters are really the heaviest hitters in our roster right now. So heavy defeat for Reyna. I don't think she'd be able to survive long enough to go and help Kaya. Kaya would survive and beat Pariah and then come back and fight Neuron. And because of her, not Neuron, but Aries, I think he would keep trying to get stronger during the course of their fight. But I think she, with her having been fighting longer and sealing away evil spirits and stuff like that, she could take out Aries, get Aries out of play, seal. What we've got is 3 characters about Izanagi, Hiroko, and Awashima fighting against Darkseid. Kaya is now officially freed up. Pariah is out of play. Aries is out of play. And Eclipso is out of play. So that still leaves Necron, Specter, Doomsday.
If we free Awashima up, she can help take care of the Specter.
She could, but I feel like based on how their characters are, they would go and help whatchamacallit first.
Maybe.
But yeah, They would have been stubborn. Ebisu would be like, no, go help your sister. I got things here. And they would have came right back and be like, nope, we're here to help you, dude. And they would have, Awashima is a beast. I need you guys to read The Unbeloved. Awashima is a straight beast throughout the whole series, honestly. From the moment she shows up, it's just like, okay, what are you going to do? Oh my god. So no, I wish they would go back and help Ebisu. And so now we've got really the whole Unbeloved cast versus Darkseid, with Izanami still working on Doomsday, which again, if we can get away with them freezing Doomsday, it could work. Mm-hmm. If you guys disagree with them being able to freeze Doomsday, y'all let me know and tell me what you guys think. I think Izanami would go and fight the next strong guy, actually. I feel like Izanagi would be like, hey, I got this, guys, and try to get everybody to go somewhere else, maybe. Mm. Like, hey, we're here to back you up, and like briefly they all team up on Darkseid, and then Izanagi's like, hey, yo, guys, I got this. He really doesn't, but he's very prideful. He's very prideful. And so, with that being said, then we can have everybody split up again. I feel like then Izanami would probably go after who's the next strongest guy. I mean, we might as well just drop her against the empty hand. And then Hiroko and Awashima would stick together and fight. They probably would run up on Necron with his reality warping, and they'd probably try to face off against him. Kaira might pop up and help. They help the Gray out fight Necron, because it's like, another demon-like character. I mean, he looks like it, right? Right. So they'll probably face off against him. And with backup and the sealing techniques, if the Gray wasn't able to absolutely disintegrate him, then Kaya should be able to seal him away. So that leaves the Empty Hand, Necron, and still Darkseid. Now Soul dies. Soul dies against Necron. Necron is like, hey, who's next? Again, Hiroko and Awashima are there to fight him. I don't think they win that fight either. I think this is when we start to see everybody start failing out, right? I feel like Necron with his reality manipulation powers would kill Hiroko and Awashima, thus distracting Ebisu. The Upside Down Man takes that moment and takes out Ebisu, and the whole line starts to fall apart. The whole line starts to fall apart. Again, Kai and the Gray get past Necron, but then you got the Empty Hand, Necron, and the Upside Down Man popping back up and dropping them. And now Izanami, who do we have Izanami fighting? The Empty Hand. Darkseid finishes Izanagi off, and Izanami dies. Like, I'm sorry we went through that last bit so quickly, but like that's how the line would just like it looked promising in the beginning, but with the Blue Morpho and Butterfly barely escaping or barely surviving their fight, they wouldn't make. I don't think they would make it long enough for anybody to come and back them up. Because not Darkseid, but Deathstroke was in the latest issue, last Thursday's issue of Dark Crisis. Spoiler warning, 3, 2, 1. He took out the Legion of Doom he wasn't by himself, but he pretty much dropped the Legion of Doom and turned them to the Dark Army using the Great Darkness. So yeah, he's cunning already, and yeah, he was able to overpower and drop them in the latest issue. So yeah. Yep, it just like that, it all falls apart. It looked good, it looked promising. We had 5 wins, 2 losses, and then it just all went to crap. So yeah,
it all falls down.
It all falls down. So unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, although we made Midnight Comics, and of course we would vote for our characters.
Would we?
No.
We would cheer them on.
We'd cheer them on. We'd be their cheerleaders. We'd hope for the best.
We're not
delusional.
Exactly. We're not delusional.
Our characters are not in a place
especially
yet.
Where a lot of them stand currently.
Right, because that's what we're going based on.
A lot later in some people's issues, we might win some of these fights.
Yeah, like Soul, like Arc. I can't say Arc 2. End of series Soul. Yeah, for sure. Series Edmani for sure could do way more damage than
she could do plenty of damage.
So we'll type a whole scenario out proper and post it on our blog post and all that other good stuff. But unfortunately, as it stands, Midnight Comics Falls to the Dark Crisis. Again, it'll all be in there, little character descriptions and stuff like that in the scenario that we talked about on there. So it'll be 2 different blog posts. More on that as you guys visit our website. Don't forget to follow us on our mailing list at midnightcomics.org. Get your discount codes and all that wonderful stuff there. What else we have coming down the pipe, Tosh?
If you're watching this live, you're already on the Patreon. But if you're watching this later, you're not. You may not be on the Patreon. So subscribe to our Patreon to get exclusive photos, exclusive news, and access to these live streams early so you can be part of the conversation versus just watching it on YouTube. Follow us on Twitch, all our social media, which will be in the description below, as well as looking out for Tales from Midnight Part 2 coming soon.
Yes.
I don't know how you didn't say that.
I don't know
Tales
either.
from Midnight 1 already available, and the entire book is available. Each individual story is available digitally, and I think the most expensive story is $5. So
get yours today.
You're looking at $2 to $5 for some really good stories.
Yes. And so with that Tales from Midnight 2, just to let you guys know.
And I'm not just speaking out my butt because I helped write them.
Yeah, right. Tales from Midnight issue 2 is getting lettered now. So if you're a part of the mailing list and you're watching this later, or if you're part of the Patreon now and heard us say it during our stream on Twitch, we were waiting for colors for the last day, and just ready for the and getting the cover colored for the last day and Raven. Last day. I was about to get confused for a second. Yeah, so for the last day, so that is done. That's 20 pages by itself. And think about it, you're getting 2 other stories.
Also, this Tales from Midnight is probably almost double double the size of the first one.
Stories, yeah.
And it's still what, $12?
Correct. So you're getting more out of these individual stories than you did with the stories that came out in Tales from Midnight issue 1. Now there's only 3 this time around.
It's still a long book for a good price.
Yes. There's only 3 stories in this one versus the 4 in the previous one. But again, each story has more pages than the previous stories in the other one, because you're pretty much getting a whole book out of the last day by itself. That's already done colored. The stories that still needed to be lettered, Raven's Omen and The Last Day, have been sent to the letterer this morning, and should be done within the next week and a half. Gosh, you're in for such a treat with these stories coming up. Oh my gosh. But anyway, I feel like we've rambled on long enough. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. I almost said hanging out with the Haven. Thank you guys for hanging out with us and joining the countdown to midnight, because remember, midnight is always coming, ladies and gentlemen. And I guess we'll see you guys next time. You guys have a good one. I'm Lloyd Jones. This is Natasha. And catch you guys next time.